Good morning or good afternoon, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's your main man, Uncle Freezy. I'm rocking with Anthony D. Too smooth. He don't require a chaser. This is what we call old school Knicks. And we had a lot of stuff that we wanted to talk about. But before we even get into that, we have been offered a challenge. We have been offered a challenge, AD. But I mean, we come in prepared. We come in with a lot of stuff to talk about anyway, right? Because old school, even though it's old school Knicks, and we talk about a lot of old school topics, bruh, what I heard this morning, when I heard the challenge this morning, I'm legit baffled by it, right? So first, let me just say something real quick before we get into that topic. First of all, thank you everybody who is supporting the Blorange Tears podcast on Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and wherever you download a podcast from. The reception has been overwhelming. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I didn't expect us to kind of blow up, but because I'm new to the audio podcast platform, but just want to say thank you everyone for your continued support on the audio platform thing, iHeartRadio and all that stuff. We do this thing on YouTube, and we know we have a somewhat decent, halfway decent YouTube following, but to see the way we're received on other platforms is kind of overwhelming, and I appreciate y'all for that. Make sure for those that want to get deep dives into breakdowns and stuff, we have the Patreon page for like $2 or like $5 a month. You get videos and deep dives and deeper conversations into Knicks topics and such. And we just launched the merch store last night. You see the merch store stuff at the bottom of the screen, blorangetears.myspreadshop.com. Go check out the merch there. We just opened it. We have limited things there. We'll of course build that as time goes along. But yeah, AD, listen, the reception for Blorange Tears across all platforms has been overwhelming. I had no idea that people are really digging us, man. They really enjoy the diversity of the fan base. They like the old heads. They like the new school guys. They like the youngins. You know what I'm saying? They like the diversity of the conversations and such. But being called out, I find, is a tad disrespectful. Right? And then being called out about this topic has got me thinking we might about to take this to the streets.
The thing is with them, and Father, forgive them because they know not what they say. You have nobody from the new school that's even worth discussing in a conversation against, a five that I could pick, you could pick. You know what I mean? You really just have no one and that's no disrespect to the young guys. You have no one worth value. You have zero.
Right. There was a conversation, but there was a conversation. Is Marbury better than Clyde Frazier?
Okay. I mean, he had some years where Marbury was just a dominant point guard, but
in those dominant offensive years, those offensive dominant years, Clyde Frazier put up similar numbers, right? Meanwhile, being all NBA defense.
And it's a different time, absolutely.
Right.
And people say, well, Clyde wouldn't be able to guard Marbury. Okay, fine. Marbury wasn't a great defender. He wouldn't be able to guard Clyde.
Clyde, right.
Okay. So, but for me, what happens with that conversation is that we leave out where some of these guys went with their overall playoff careers.
Right.
You have nobody that, even Marbury,
Right.
his playoff legacy is giving it to Tony Parker for a few games.
Whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-damn-do, as Derek Coleman once said.
Right. Yeah.
Whoop-de-damn-do.
Greatest quote in basketball history.
Absolutely.
ADC such and such. Man, what? Whoop-de-damn-do.
Whoop-de-damn-do. That was it. That was it. That was like their bright spot the entire season.
Right.
What DC said, whoop-de-damn-do.
Right.
But that was it. That's a damn shame, but it's not worth, it's really not worth a conversation.
Right.
So let's be devil's advocate. Let's play along with them. Let's pick who we think that they would pick for new school.
Right.
All right. So Marbury.
Yes.
Right. And yep. I'm gonna say RJ just because of his draft status. RJ.
Right.
All right. So RJ at the 2.
Yep.
At the 3,
Carmelo. That's easy.
Am I giving them Carmelo? See, we got to determine what's new school. All right, fine. I'll give you Carmelo.
All right. So in their eyes, the millennium turn. Anything pre, yeah. So anything pre. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So Carmelo at the 3, at the 4, and these is millennials, so they worship Amari Stoudemire. So
yes,
Amari Stoudemire at the 4, and at the 5, you really, let me insult them. Put Eddie Curry in at your 5.
Yeah. I think they went Tyson Chandler.
Tyson Chandler, right? Your 5 is Tyson Chandler. Right. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
If that's your millennials, that's your 5. That's not good enough.
Okay.
It's not. It's like Carmelo all over again against Indiana. That's the kind of vibes I get with that. It's Carmelo, but he has Marbury. Okay.
Right. They have Marbury. They have RJ. I think they mentioned some Houston and Sprewell. I think they also mentioned some David Lee. And I think they also mentioned some J.R. Smith. Yeah. So, I think that the old school Knicks starting 5, we could just pick an entire starting 5 from an era to beat that. We could just pick early 70s starting 5, just a regular starting 5 that beats that. I think Clyde and Earl and Pearl dominates any backcourt that they could put together. Right. What's intriguing to me, AD? What's intriguing to me is they feel like Carmelo Anthony is better than Bernard King.
It's a good argument. It's a good argument because Carmelo played, a lot longer. It's a good argument. You know what I'm saying? And they took, of the top 75, they took Carmelo and left off Bernard. Yeah. So it's a good argument. You can't go wrong either way. In my eyes, I'm taking Bernard. I really don't have an argument that I can say, well, Bernard just destroys just destroys Carmelo, because that wouldn't be true.
Can I throw one? Can I throw something out there?
Yeah,
What about Bernard King in the playoffs versus Carmelo Anthony in the playoffs?
that's.
Does Bernard King raise his level of play in the playoffs? And does Carmelo Anthony raise his level of play in the playoffs?
I thought Carmelo raised his level of play in the playoffs. You can't.
Okay.
Here's the thing with Carmelo: he has no memorable bodies.
Right.
He's got no. The Boston series was the highlight of the Knicks, of his Knicks career. Him saving a shaky Raymond Felton. Losing a 26-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Right. Right.
Right? Of the
Right.
closeout game, you up 26. Everybody done walking out the gym. You allowed them to come all the way back
All the way back.
in the fourth quarter, and he saves them. But that was an old Boston team. He doesn't have, he doesn't have the Detroit series. He doesn't have, the series against, he beat Boston. Bernard didn't, but Bernard just had.
Well, what type? First of all, what type of Boston team was that? See, because the team that Bernard lost to was in
Yeah,
their prime. That was a Boston team, like at the very peak of their powers. That
that's
Boston
the
team,
yeah.
the Carmelo versus Boston team, that was a down Boston team that featured Jason Terry's and cats like that.
Yeah, that was a team that you were supposed to be. You wasn't supposed to even
Right.
struggle with them. The Knicks were
Right.
supposed to beat them, you know. So, I mean, like I said, he doesn't. His moment is not iconic. You know what I mean? In New York sports, because you go to Indiana, Hibbert stops you at the rim. That's what people remember.
Roy, who?
Exactly.
Who we talking about now? I'm just trying to figure out. I'm just trying to get because listen, even
I'm
though I'm
saying with
old
memory.
school, even though I'm
Uh-huh.
old school, I'd like to think about these things down the middle. I like to think about it from both sides. But nah, ain't nobody telling me that Carmelo Anthony is a better player than Bernard King. I don't want to hear it, bro. I just can't.
I
I
mean,
can't wrap my mind around Carmelo Anthony being more impactful than Bernard King, bro.
but I mean, like I said, you could. I can't. I can't really make an argument that's like totally. But I'll say this. This is the difference for me. Bernard had a certain kind of face, game face mentality and energy that Carmelo never had. You know what I mean? Bernard kind of acted like, I mean, if you see like old clips of him, he didn't shake hands with anybody before the game.
Right, right,
He didn't do all of that. Like once you saw his laser focus, once the ball went up, he was locked in, laser
right.
focus. Carmelo, not
Ah.
that, not that. You know what I
I
mean?
just
Not that. And you don't. But both of them suffer. Both of them suffer a lot of the same fate of having guys in the leadership capacity that did not know how to build a team around their excellence.
right. Well, that's not fair though, because it's not fair to the Bernard King thing, AD. Because I understand what you're saying. The team building thing is hard, right? But the thing about the Bernard King team build and the Carmelo Anthony team build is both of them were traded for when the team was trying to develop a young core. Like people forget about that. The Knicks were trying to develop a young core. They had a young core of players, right? And then they made the trade for a superstar in acquiring Bernard King. And that sounds like the same narrative for Carmelo Anthony, But at least with Carmelo Anthony, they tried to go out and get complementary players. With Bernard King, you don't remember the subsequent moves after Bernard King was traded for, right? Like who did the Knicks go get after Bernard King was traded for?
They weren't any. They
Right.
when they had him, they had like a fading Maurice Lucas.
Yep.
At the power forward, and what's my coach that passed away a couple of years ago that used to coach Phoenix? He was on their team. I mean, you know,
golly,
I mean,
Paul Westphal.
Yes,
Right.
Paul Westphal, and they lost to Philadelphia in that first round and so forth. But he gave you.
But AD, let's be fair. They lost to the NBA champ Philadelphia 76ers. We got to keep all this stuff in perspective because the new school cats, they don't understand when we say this stuff. It's not like Philly was the Philly of now second round team. Philly was at the height of their powers too.
Philly's the height, but my point is they don't have a management that come out with a bold swing to take advantage of, to pair him up with somebody. Their boldest swing that they had was they had Amari, they got Melo,
right?
Then they used the amnesty on the wrong guy. And I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. I know we're not talking about that, but I'm just saying they're both of them in their beginnings of their prime years, and you don't know what to do with them. You don't build. You got guys like, no disrespect, you got Ernie Grunfeld is on the team.
Getting minutes.
Getting minutes. Louis Orr.
Oh, God dog it.
You can't be serious.
Rory Sparrow. Are you serious?
You're going up against
Darryl Walker.
You're going up against the eventual champions, and your backcourt is Rory Sparrow and Ray Williams. Your power,
New York's own Ray Williams, by the way. New York's own Ray
Williams. Your starting four is a washed Chuck Robinson, and your five is a slow-footed offensive center. Your favorite, Bill Cartwright.
Bill Cartwright.
That's who you're going up against. And if you Bernard, I'm telling you, if I was him at that point after the season, I would have walked into the office and have been like, look, I need some more money today. Not tomorrow. Today. You either put some more money on the table or you get some better players in here now.
Was Ken Bannister? Ken Bannister was there, right?
No, Ken Bannister was drafted the year when Bernard
got hurt.
Yeah, or like before he got hurt or something like that.
I think he might have been a rookie. I think look at the names.
Look at the names you're calling. You only remember him, why? For his nickname, Ken the Animal. Ken the Animal Bannister. He looked like Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
He was in the wrong profession.
Yes. I remember him fouling Buck Williams one time. Like Animal was tough, bro. He was a tough dude. He was like the precursor of like the Charles Barkley type player, right? The only thing though is he wasn't productive. Like Oakley ultimately is 12-10, right? Oakley is a 12-10 player, right? You don't expect Oakley to get you 30 points, right? But the Animal was like at his prime was like maybe 8-6.
8-6.
Yeah.
8-6.
I'm talking about prime. I'm not talking
about career. You talking about paid in full 86? Is that what you're talking about? 86. Look, first of all, whoever said Ken the Animal Bannister had a prime?
Good point.
How hell did you? How the hell did you lead to that? Like
Good
we're
point.
talking about this dude as if he's even a B actor,
And he's not.
and he's not. Like no, I think his career numbers may be like 2.1 and 3.3 or something like that.
Right.
8 and 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
8
Yeah. The animal. The
He might
animal.
have had 8 and 6. He might have had 8 and 6 in a couple of games.
But that's not what he hanging his. Yeah, man. And so yeah, man. So the thing with Bernard King is we know that roster was flawed, right? But my man put that team on his back, unlike Melo, who had help. Was it a
at
lot
the
of
end
help?
of,
No.
at the end of the day, yeah, he had Melo's best squad is the 54 win season that was better than anything Bernard ever played with.
Right. Right.
The squad when Chauncey Billups was running at the point when he got hurt against Boston was better than anything that Bernard ever played with.
Hmm.
The Jeremy Lin squad was better than anything that Bernard ever played with.
That Jeremy Lin squad was trash, though.
And it was trash.
It was trash. It was trash.
And it was
It was
trash.
trash. Oh, Eddie Lee Wilkins was still around. Okay. Eddie Lee Wilkins was on. Eddie Lee Wilkins was on that roster.
Eddie Press Curl. Yeah, Eddie had one of the worst looking Jerry curls. I mean, Eddie Jerry curl, it started fading in the front, right? So he was
Yeah.
losing in the front.
Right.
And then he had like a shag going down the side with it.
Yeah.
And when he ran, it kind of bounced.
Yeah. In the back. I remember. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
In the back. And they were like, this is gonna be the backup for Patrick Ewing.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, he was gonna back up Patrick Ewing, all right. Way back.
Way back.
way
back. Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at this roster and I honestly want to throw up. I'm looking at names like on that roster is because I think the starters, I think the starters at that time were Darryl Walker, Trent Tucker, Bernard King. I can't remember who played at the 4. I don't think it was Bannister. I don't think it was Bannister, man. And I can't remember if it was Truck Robinson or not. I don't think so.
Nah, the 4, that was Truck Robinson.
Truck Robinson started. Okay, Truck Robinson.
Truck was on the team, I want to say for like a year or two.
Okay.
For like a year or two, because that's when they, as moves go on, they draft Walker, and then at some point in time, after Bernard or during, this is their big move to help Bernard. They traded for Pat Cummings.
Oh God, yeah, Pat Cummings. Okay,
that's the first time we've mentioned that man's name on this show since we've been on. Pat Cummings from Dallas, I think.
Okay.
And that was supposed to be the front court, Cummings, Bernard, Cartwright.
I legit just want to throw up.
Cummings claimed the fame. I remember one night, Cummings laid this dude out. That's when you could still fight in the NBA and get like a game or two suspension. Cummings turned around and I can't remember the dude he laid out, but he turned around and cold cocked this dude. Laid this dude out. Yo, Cummings wasn't. I mean, he was like what the game was going to be because he could shoot from the outside.
Right.
He could shoot from the outside and he could drive a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and he could drive a little bit, but he was tough.
Yeah, this roster, bro, just
it's
makes
horrible.
Me wanna, yes. Yeah. The roster was terrible. Wow. I forgot about Lenny Elmore. Remember Lenny Elmore?
Lenny Elmore.
Yeah, hey, and so Marvin Webster was on the right, but he was sick. I remember him being sickly. Um, um, who else was on the roster? Lenny Elmore, Rory Sparrow, Chuck Robinson, Louis Orr, Darryl Walker, Ray Williams. Who else? I'm trying to think. There are some other names. I just can't remember.
I think Trent Tucker might have been on that roster. Trent might be a rookie on that team.
Trent Tucker was on that roster. Trent Tucker was young.
Okay,
Trent
he might
Tucker
have been.
was a rookie in '82. He
Yeah.
was on that team. Paul Westfall, Sly Williams, New York's own Sly Williams, Ed Sherrod. God, man, I'm getting old, bro. Scott Hastings, Mike
Yes.
Davis. Oh yeah, I'm
Yes.
getting old, man. I'm getting old, bro. I'm getting old, bro. I'm looking at these names, bro. I'm looking at these names, and when I think about these names, and the reason why I know I'm getting old is because when I look at these names, I'm thinking about them as if they were Obi and Quickly, and this is like 40 years ago.
And they were the Obies and Quicklies.
Is
They
of
weren't even.
that?
They weren't. They weren't even. They weren't even that. Because
No,
Trent Tucker. If you bring up Trent Tucker, I believe Trent Tucker came from Minnesota, and
okay,
he was like a top 10 pick.
right,
He was like a
right,
top 10 pick. Yeah.
yep, yep,
Darryl
yep,
Walker was a top 14 pick.
yeah, yep, yep. Darryl Walker. Darryl Walker was a
Yeah.
top 10 pick. We drafted. Yo, we had this conversation already. Remember, we took
Yes.
him in the top 10 over Clyde Drexler.
Over Clyde Drexler, right? So all of those guys,
Oh,
they go back years. And we've never really touched on this topic, and maybe today's a good day for it. They go back years with bad scouting.
oh God.
Bad, horrible scouting. Like for every
Horrible, horrible
Mark Jackson they picked, they got a list of, and I don't want to call them, because you're a professional ball player, whatever, but they weren't talented enough to move the needle, let
right,
alone play 2 or 3 years.
right, right.
They consistently, it's, it's in the people that's in your organization that know basketball talent that you have to trust, some of these guys.
Right. Right.
And
Hey,
not people
Paris
you
Tucker,
got.
thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
No, not people you got relationships with.
Right. Right. That had been our knock for years. Our knock for years was we couldn't draft. We couldn't draft, but we could find a dog off the scrap heap. That was our claim to fame.
Guys. You can't name 10 guys since 1980 that they've drafted that's been worth anything that was even here during, the successful 90s.
Right. Let me just do this real quick. Paris Tucker, thank you for the gents' contribution. Paris Tucker says, nobody was a better big game scorer than Bernard King. Hey, brother, I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree. And not just big game scorer, but he always seemed to come up clutch with like those transition rebounds, bro. You're like, God, all these bigs and Bernard King come away with the rebound. And so Paris Tucker, thanks again. Paris Tucker says, Bernard against Isaiah and them, Bernard against the Celtics. I mean, come on, bro. That's classic. That's the one thing I give to Bernard King while his defense was it's all about perspective. His defense depending on how you like defense, right? But the one thing you can't say is that man didn't play hard all the time. Right? The one thing about Bernard King is he played all the time. The thing about Melo is offensively, Melo was that dude. Defensively, you wasn't getting nothing. Period. Whether you're a Melo fan or not, I'm a Melo fan, but I'm being honest. There were games that you watched Melo, and you're like, Melo, if you just played a little bit of defense, like the game the Sixers beat us, TJ McConnell hit the game winner. We like
Mm.
Melo, if you play a little bit of defense these last 7 minutes, there Philly doesn't even get to the point where TJ McConnell can hit a game winner in your face. TJ McConnell hit a game winner in Carmelo and bro, don't get me started, bro. Man, it's TJ McConnell hitting the game winner in your face is the equivalent of say a Billy Donovan hitting a game winner in Bernard King face. Man, what are we come on? What are we even talking about now? I
You,
mean,
you're right, but you didn't get him for that,
yeah,
and you know that going into this. The best you can say is for a star player like that is be in the picture.
yeah,
Be in the picture.
yeah.
I'll feel better with that. Be in the picture.
Right, right.
At
And
least, you can have an argument to say that. Well, you attempted to play some type of defense. Be in the picture.
yeah, yeah. Just yeah, yeah.
Hands down, hands down. Turn to the side. However, just be in the
Yeah.
picture.
Just be yeah. And so the thing I was gonna speak to too, and while I'm not bashing Melo is probably a top 10 Nick of all time, no doubt. And
Yeah.
I say top 10, I don't say that disrespectfully. I'm saying depending on how you root as a fan, Melo could be for anywhere from 2 to 10 in your top 10. He's definitely not the greatest Nick though. We don't want to even
I
have
don't
that
know if you can. I
conversation.
don't know if you can put him as. I don't know if you could ever put him as high as 2.
But that's our perspective though. What do new
Yeah,
school Knicks fans
yeah.
say?
Well, new school Knicks fans. Let me give you your perspective. You could never put Carmelo Anthony as high as number 2.
Take that.
Yeah. Let me give you your perspective. Okay.
Right,
It's
right,
just
right,
don't waste your time formulating that argument.
right,
There's no defense for it.
right, right. I could make the argument, man, that I would have Bernard King higher on that list than I would Carmelo Anthony. And I know Bernard. So my thing with Bernard King is polarizing. For one, they traded my favorite player at the time for the Bernard King, so I'm still a little hurt about that. And this is the reason why I don't like Spreewell, because they traded my favorite Nick at the time for Spreewell, right? And so
Mm.
I admit that I'm put full disclosure. I'm putting that out there so people will know why I say the things that I say. It's not because I don't like Spreewell, and it's not because I don't like Bernard King, right? But when you consider Bernard King, no, bro, Bernard King has these moments where you absolutely can't believe what you're watching, while Melo has these moments that if it weren't for Mike Breen saying bang, you're like, okay, maybe this is just a good moment, right? But Bernard King, man, listen, I watched some games around the Knicks games versus the 4-4-4 Sixers during the season, where
Mhm.
the Bernard King was clearly overmatched and still gave the Sixers the business. And the
I
Sixers
mean,
had an elite Hall of Fame wing defender at the time.
if you're gonna take that stance, I could say, well, I saw Melo give Miami 50 in Miami,
Right,
the
right.
champs.
On a Sunday ABC primetime game. I remember. I remember that. I
So
remember
he
that.
give them 50.
Right. Did
You
he
know,
do that all? But did he do that all season though? That's what I'm saying. Against that team, or was that a one-off? Did he average 50 against them?
if I remember, no, he didn't average it. If I remember correctly, Melo
Say did he average? How about did he average 30 against them?
against
I don't think
Miami,
he.
I would say yes, or close
Okay.
to it, because he always played well against Miami. He always played well against them.
Against LeBron.
Yeah, he always
Definitely
played well
against
against.
LeBron.
Yeah, he
Right.
always played well against them. Even when they lost that first season when he got to the Knicks, when they lost to them that first round. See, he don't get Melo doesn't get enough credit for dragging the Knicks to the playoffs, especially that very first season. When you hear the Melo detractors, they forget that Amari signed a 5-year contract and he only gave you a good 3/4 of one season.
One season.
Of one season.
Right.
Melo had to drag that team.
Yep.
If you look at Melo's numbers, especially them first 3 to 4 years in the Knicks uniform, his March and April numbers are off the charts.
Right. Right.
As much as he didn't like playing in D'Antoni's system, once D'Antoni got him to start taking more threes, his numbers went off the charts.
Skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Skyrocketed. Yeah.
As much as he didn't like it. And they had their power play, which ended up in Melo's favor. But offensively, he went bananas. He dragged the Knicks to the playoffs.
Right.
Some Knicks fans look at Amari as if Amari, his presence here overall did something for us. It didn't.
No, it was an albatross, bro.
Didn't. The man hurt himself consecutive times going into the playoffs. He punched a fire extinguisher.
Yep. The Boston game.
No, that's the Miami game.
That's the Miami
Then
game? Okay.
the Boston game. Oh, the Boston game, I remember this. He was doing trick dunks on the layup line. That's how he hurt his back originally.
Right. Bro.
But we look at Carmelo like, I should have never did this. I should have never did this. I should have never did that. No, what you never should have did was amnesty Chauncey Billups. You should have amnestied Amari Stoudemire.
Amari Stoudemire. Yep. And so and let me point something out to the chat, man. Let me point something out to the chat. First, Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says Amari killed the Melo era. That and Chauncey got hurt. Yep, both. Exactly right. But just for the new school Knicks, let me read you Carmelo Anthony's stat line in that 50-point game versus Miami. The New York Knicks beat the Miami Heat 102-90. Carmelo Anthony shot 18 for 26. He was 7 for 10 from 3, right? And just hold on. This is where things get better. Carmelo Anthony had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and finished with 50 points. This is the reason why I say you can't compare Bernard King to Carmelo Anthony. Because in a game where Melo had 50 points, 50, he had 2 rebounds. 2 rebounds.
He didn't need to rebound. He was
because he was hitting everything, right? Because he was hitting everything.
He was hitting everything.
Right. And so these are the type things that I'm talking about, right? Carmelo Anthony in that game, right? Carmelo Anthony goes for 50. All right. Guess who guarded Carmelo Anthony in that game? Tell me if these names defensively impress you. Rashard Lewis, Chris Bosh, Udonis Haslem, Chris Anderson, Shane Battier, Ray Allen, James Jones.
Absolutely.
Notice in that 50-point game, I never mentioned LeBron James.
But two of those players are Hall of Famers that you mentioned.
You're talking about Ray Allen and Chris
And
Bosh?
Bosh and Chris Bosh.
Yeah. Did you notice I didn't say Dwayne Wade? You notice I didn't say LeBron James.
Shane Battier helped them win a championship.
Yeah, Shane Battier by that time was a decent defender, but he wasn't great. He was a great defender the Houston years. By the time he got to Miami, he was no longer a great. He's probably where Robert Covington is right now, where when he was young, he was a great defender, but right now he's just a very smart, heady team defender.
See, what you're doing is Melo damned if he do, damned if he don't.
Nah, I'm
Because
just saying use perspective.
If he don't, no, what I'm saying, if he don't kill him, the argument then gonna be, look at these guys that he played against.
Yeah,
He was supposed to get at least 40 against these guys. He only got 20.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Melo on many nights, and we forget this about him as well. On many nights, would give you the business.
On many nights.
Many nights would give you the business.
Melo was a scoring machine, bro.
He was absolute scoring machine.
I love Melo, bro.
The best out of Melo, and you can look at it, and this is facts. His best years was when you gave him a point guard. Right. The Andre Miller years, the year with Kidd, and the year with Felton. With Kidd and Felton, because both of them was on the same team. That was the year he averaged 29.
Right. I love Melo, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you.
And his year with Chauncey Billups in Denver. My bad, I forgot that year. Those 3 years, those 3 times that he played with good point guard play, you allowed him to be what he came on this earth to be, which was to give you buckets.
Right.
You heard what the pick on the back of your wall. I think you used to have George Iceman Gervin back there, right?
I still got him the frame. I got to change the frame.
I heard Gervin say, he said, "Man, they didn't come to me for defense. They came to me so it was like, did you see the move that Ice laid down last night? That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all he was worried about. Offensive.
And in the pantheon of great NBA scorers, I think Melo is in that pantheon of great NBA scorers.
Absolutely.
Right? But when we consider natural scorers like David Thompson, like George Gervin, like Dr. J, like Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, Alex English, just natural scoring machines. I think Bernard King, I think you put them guys up there. When you talk about great system scorers, Michael Jordan, and I know Michael Jordan was a great natural scorer too, right? But his efficiency came when he became a system scorer, right? You remember the night Michael Jordan averaged 37 points a game in this league one time, right? Yep. Without an offensive, give him the ball and let him go, right? But the teams couldn't win. But when he got into a system where defenses couldn't just set up to stop him, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, Karl Malone's, just couldn't be stopped, bro. What I'm saying to all the Carmelo fans is Carmelo Anthony had multiple things going against him. He had management, coaching staff, system, rosters, all of that playing against him. Now, and if you think that's bad for Melo, do that times 3 for Bernard King.
Yes.
Times 3 for
Yes.
Bernard, because you may not have liked Tyson Chandler, but Tyson Chandler was a top 3 pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Right?
And he was
Right?
better than any center. And he was better than any center that
That Bernard King had. Right?
absolutely.
And so people will say, well, what about Bill Cartwright? Well, Bill Cartwright was a bust. You know that. Not a bust. Bill Cartwright was just this
Not a,
this this
he's not a bust, but he wasn't with the Knicks. He had even had some playoff games with some decent numbers, but not when you going up against the likes of Bird, McHale, Parrish, Maxwell.
right.
He's not that guy. You know what I'm saying? He's not that guy.
Right.
We used to talk about what ifs. Like, what if the Knicks had just, let Bernard play with Ewing?
Right.
Because that's what he needed at that time. He needed a true scorer.
Right.
And he always needed, his whole career, he always needed someone who could truly get buckets.
Right.
See, defense is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking defense. I'm one of those people that, back in the 90s, I would scream, defense, defense, all of that.
Right. Right.
I love John Starks.
Yep.
Game 7, 2 for 18.
Yep. Never get over that. Never get over that, bro. I can't get over that. Ever.
You never get over. You never, because why? He, at the end of the day, he is, what he is, a good player, a very good player, someone who you could have to help you get to a championship, whatever, but his Tourette syndrome-ism is not something that you can count on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the way how he could be hot one moment, hit 5 threes.
Back to back, off one foot, falling down out of bounds.
Yeah. Falling down out of bounds. Right?
And then the next 20.
And then he could miss. But he would do effort, and he wasn't just a 3-point shooter. I mean, he would drive to the basket, all of that, especially before he hurt the knee. Yeah. All of that. But he wasn't, you know what I'm saying? He's not Mitch Richmond. No. Consistency.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, not Glenn Rice.
He's not Eddie Johnson consistent.
Right.
Right. Y'all remember Eddie Johnson? Y'all remember Eddie Johnson?
Absolutely.
Eddie Johnson, he couldn't do a bunch of things well, but he did everything. Oh, you know what? He wasn't Hersey Hawkins consistent. You remember Hersey Hawkins?
No. Well, he better than Hersey Hawkins.
Absolutely. No, I think he's better, but I'm saying Hersey Hawkins was the model. Yeah, it was a model of consistency. Like, you couldn't leave Hersey Hawkins open from a certain range because he made you pay on a nightly basis. But was he the combo guard, John Starks? Because people think Starks was a shooting guard. Starks was a combo guard for the Knicks. It's one of the reasons why the trading of Mark Jackson was palatable. Not that Starks was going to play point, but you could have a Starks and another veteran in the backcourt, and they could win you playoff games. And you know how I know this? Because Starks and a veteran point guard won you playoff games, right? But whereas before that, with Mark Jackson, your Rod Strickland's, your bro, I had a list of point guards. I keep forgetting them, and the reason why I keep forgetting them is because they're forgettable, right? But with Starks, you could have him. He is a combo guard. Starks might be the greatest combo guard in Knicks history. Might be, or at least in the conversation. I can't think of, Earl the Pearl was probably probably the best combo guard. And that's because the Knicks turned him from a scoring point guard to a 2. Well, he played the 2, but he was a combo guard. You know, he had point guard skills. He might be the greatest.
Yeah, he's a
He's in
point
the
guard. Yeah,
conversation. Yeah, he's in the
yeah,
conversation of greatest point guards ever. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So
We forget that.
yeah,
That's
with the
what.
bullets, with the bullets. You remember how he used to?
That's what sacrificing his career. Not to veer, but that's what true sacrifice is to trying to win a championship. When you're like, all right, I'll go to the Knicks
Yep.
because he's looking at it like they already won a championship. They've been in the finals a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? They
Right.
beat us.
Yep.
This may be a chance for me to actually like get over it, and I'm gonna find a way to work with Clyde
Right.
because
Right.
Clyde didn't give up the rock.
No.
Clyde didn't give up the rock. No,
Right.
he had to come in and blend his talents.
Right. Right. Yeah, man. That man went from averaging 23 points a game, right, with Baltimore, to 12 points a game when he first got to the Knicks. He
That's
averaged
half.
11, 15,
That's
14,
half.
20.
That's half your points
Yes.
in the
Yes.
prime of your career. You
Yep.
have sacrificed half of your points.
Yep. Yep.
This is a
And
dude. This is a dude in college for Winston-Salem State once averaged 41.9 points per game.
right. Right. Yeah.
Without a 3-point line.
Without a 3-point line, bro. In the 70s, the conversation, and this is for the new school Knicks fans. In the 70s, the greatest guard conversation was so different. It was either who's the greatest guard ever, Jerry West, Earl the Pearl, or Pistol Pete. That used to be the conversation. That used to be the conversation. Not Jerry West. Oh my! I saw Jerry West hit a 60-foot shot in a game. Was that game 7? Was that game 7
No, I think it
against the
was.
Knicks?
It was like game. It was an elimination game. It was like game 6
5?
or something. 5, something like that. It wasn't game
No,
7.
because Cap got hurt in game 6. Remember?
Right. It was
Cap got
right. So it was like game 5 or something like that. He sent
in
it. I think
LA.
they were up 3. Right. They were up 3-1. Right. They up 3-1. He hits that shot to send them to 3-2.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Something right.
And
Or something like that.
so everybody, that wasn't a game. What it is he hit that shot to tie the game. The game goes into overtime,
Right.
and then it's settled.
Right.
So he had to just and how the Knicks gave the logo a chance to tie the game with a shot from the logo.
Yeah.
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 So what I'm getting at is all these moments, right? I don't remember Carmelo Anthony ever having any of these moments.
He doesn't.
Like Carmelo could score, bro. But his scoring to me was as memorable as Alex English. And listen, I'm not knocking Melo, right? Because a Denver scoring machine is a Denver scoring machine, bro. Like people forget about Alex English because he was a scoring machine in Denver. But that man, you couldn't stop that man. You could him and Fat Lever together.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with that argument, Freezy, is that when you pay your money to go to any sporting event, right? More times than not, it's gonna be during the regular season. Right? And you're gonna look to see who your team is playing against or whatever. Okay? And it's your opportunity to see a dude that comes into your building or vice versa. And that dude on a Monday night drops 33,
Right.
10 rebounds, 9 assists, or whatever. It's a regular Monday night or whatever, but you saw a peak performance game.
Right.
And that
Right.
counts. That's why when Draymond disrespected, Paul Pierce and like, oh, you ain't Kobe, da da da
Oh
da,
wow.
Cassie was
Wow.
doing you like that, blah 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 blah. And one of my mans was like, yo, Draymond is right. I'm like, are you crazy?
What?
I said, do you think this man that scored over 25,000 points only scored them in Boston?
Right.
He done went through the league and then on any given night, he done gave you buckets.
Right. Any given night. Any given night.
Any given night, he done gave you buckets, whether he got rings or not. And by the
Right.
way, he got a ring.
Right.
You see him on the biggest stages.
Did you know that I found somebody mentioned this stat online and I cannot find it for the life of me? But Paul Pierce has the highest career contested free field goal percentage of all time. That means no matter how smothering the defense is, this dude shoots a better percentage than Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. It was the weirdest stat that I ever heard in my life. In the fourth quarter, and with double teams and smothering defense, Paul Pierce had a higher career field goal percentage than Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. That means
Paul
that
knows,
you could be in
he
his
knows what
shirt.
he's getting his. Yeah, but he knows where he's getting his shot. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Paul wasn't the kind of person that he's not extremely athletic. He's not playing
right,
that game with
right, right,
you. You know what I'm saying? Like he can elbow jump with you to death.
right, right,
And then lull you to sleep and bang it on you.
right, right. Yeah, man.
He was just like, so with the Melo argument, it's like, okay, he may not have that kind of memorable games, whatever, but he got all them other games. He got all them
Right.
other games where, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go pay to see your money, he didn't go 2 for 14.
I agree. I agree with you there. I went to some Bernard King games, right? I think this might have been I might have been like 15 years old. And the Philadelphia 76ers were the best team in the league. And they had this style of bully ball. Like they would legit beat you up during the game. And the Knicks were so soft, bro. Like they we would this is post Willis Reed. This is when after Willis got fired. Right? Remember Willis used to coach the team?
Yes.
And so this is after Willis Reed, right? And this is before Hubie Brown, I think. Or might be right at the beginning of Hubie Brown, right?
Yeah.
The Knicks would go to the line and the Sixers would just grab dudes out of the air and slam them in the floor. And the Knicks players would get up and tuck in a little tight herringbone and go to the free throw line. You remember that when you could wear you remember when you could wear jewelry, you could wear necklace.
And all the players had like some kind of little herringbone. Some of them had, if you really paid attention to it, like in the 70s or whatever, you'd have seen some of them would have had spoons on it, them old Coke spoons.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
On their chain. The NBA, the NBA really came a far way, for real.
A very long way,
Very,
bro.
a very, very long, long way. Because you had dudes that was really living that life.
Yes. Look who it. Oh, another old school Knicks fan. Wisdom. The only way we allowing you in the chat for one is you got to have two things. You got to have These are the prerequisites for you to rock with us. You got to be from Brooklyn, and you got to have a Ribby background. If you don't have any type of Caribbean background, you can't be here.
So,
So those are the two things you got to
boom,
tell me
boom.
up. You got to tell me up front before you even. Are you from Brooklyn, and do you have a Caribbean background? Because if not,
Check
I'm booting you.
one, check two. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, check them both.
Okay,
Boss.
Bim. Okay, well you can stay.
Bim.
You can stay. Okay, all right,
Thank
all
you,
right,
sir. Thank you, sir.
all right.
You mentioned about Bernard King. I can't even believe he even mentioned, by the way, earlier I heard you say, reason why I don't like, what? I don't like Bernard. You almost pierced my heart when I heard, always why I don't like Bernard because he got traded. What? Bernard King, my man? Man, come on, man.
Me?
I,
No, it wasn't us. It wasn't us.
you didn't say the reason why I don't like Bernard because I got traded for, they traded. Did
No,
you
no,
say?
no, 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 no. I said the reason why I don't feel the same about Bernard King as others do is because they traded my favorite player for Bernard King. But I
But
also said multiple times that I like Bernard King a
okay.
lot.
I misphrased. I'm sorry. I'm going to correct it. Okay,
Yeah.
even the implication that you like someone better than Bernard, because once you said favorite player and then Bernard came, that person, whoever it was, should be out of your mind, should be erased. It should be like, boom, spy, click, you forget about him, because Bernard should make you forget everybody else before. I can't think of who got traded for Bernard, because once Bernard came, there's no one before him. That's all I'm saying right now. That's all I'm saying.
But Kenneth Daniels says Bernard King was nice, but y'all are overrating Bernard King.
Okay. Where's he live? I need to find out.
AD,
I'm gonna get.
I don't get it. AD, why are people not respecting Bernard King? AD,
What?
I think it's because as time goes on, like anything else, people kind of fade into memory. And
right.
two, he
Oh,
didn't play a lot of games with the Knicks.
Oh, jeez.
He played less than, I think, less than 250.
Right.
man. But I don't know.
So
Who would drive?
he
You ever drive
spent
a stick
most
shift?
he
I
spent
remember.
half of his career being injured. He was hurt.
I know, but whoever drive, you ever drove a stick shift? Anybody ever drove a manual?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
So yes. Okay. So all the new school guys driving their automatics or their self-driving or the semi-automatic or semi-self-driving cars right now. What's that on the level where they're sitting back of the car drive itself?
The Teslas.
Never drove a stick shift. And when you talk about a car, when you drive a stick shift, where the gear it changes and it's so smooth, you go from first to second, and you don't feel any shift at all. You're like, oh, that's the feeling of Bernard shooting that you can't appreciate because you've been driving automatics your whole life. So that's why they can't quite grasp how smooth Bernard was, because they didn't realize he was like that stick shift that you just change the gear and you go up to third, and then when you hit 90, you're like, okay, that's a piece of art. That's art. That's a work of art. And that was Bernard King, man. And I mean, I'm trying to say, Bernard King made you walk out the garden feeling like you could do anything because he made it look so easy. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna get a race today. I'm gonna ask my boss for a race tomorrow because I am on top of the world. That's why I want to bring old school. It's so great to hear your old school talk because we want these new schoolers to feel what it felt like to be on top of the world, walking in the garden, going, "That was the greatest game I've ever seen," because it felt so good. And then the best part is, you got in the subway the next day, and you just saw one of the Knicks players on the subway with you. Or I go to a local restaurant and I saw Patrick Ewing, at the Pink Teacup having breakfast that Sunday morning. I'm like, hey, Patrick, great game last night. And he's right there, yo, thanks, man. I mean, I went to King's Plaza. Bernard King was walking through King's Plaza, got his autograph with his injured finger and everything. I said, Bernard, come back, man. Please don't leave us. So
When
that's
did
what.
Bernard King ever not have a hurt finger?
Oh, I know, that's true. He always had tape on his finger. Okay, you got me there.
No, it seemed like he always had jammed fingers, right?
He always
It's
jabbed his
because
finger.
the defense, they consistently. I mean, I'm gonna keep it a buck. There was no forward during his time, during those prime years that could defend him.
Yeah.
And these teams, they would send in guys like ML Carr and these real guys that, Mahorn, and they would
Mateo.
hit you. Yeah, they would hit you, and they would hit him on his hands.
Parrish and McHale together tried to guard them once, and
Yeah,
I'm like that
they
shot.
consistently
Like,
hit him on his hands. If he played today, he would consistently. If he played today and they were playing the same way, he would consistently get and ones.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah.
who
He
saw
would
Curl O'Neal?
consistently get
The
and
Gold
ones.
Trotters. You saw Curl O'Neal do a half court, like 30-foot shot in the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bernard's shot was like that, where it goes so high that you can't block it because it just you can't jump that high. You can't reach up that high.
Right.
When I saw what's his name the Celtic center blocking people's 3-point shot, I'm like, no, Bernard's shot would be going up. It feel like it goes straight up in the air, and yet the
Yeah.
arc comes right down, swish in the basket, and almost be able to touch the net. And people
Yeah.
talking about, so that's a Curl O'Neal, man. He would slide around the floor, Globetrotters days. They throw the fake water at you. But
The Globetrotters was my first favorite New York basketball team.
Oh yes.
My first experience in the Garden was going to see the Harlem Globetrotters, like in the very, very, very early 70s. Paris Duggar, thank you for the generous contribution. Paris Duggar says Bernard King came back when we let him go and became an all-star. He worked his way all the way back from a devastating knee injury, man.
And he could have been with Patrick in Patrick's second and third year after he got settled. Those two together would have been unstoppable. Unstoppable. We'd have been walking down the Garden screaming, walking down the, oh man. The Garden was shaking back in those days, and that's what I'm saying. These new schoolers need to feel that shake. They got
my
taste of it.
only thing though is if Bernard never got hurt, the Knicks wouldn't have been bad enough to get Patrick Ewing.
Facts.
Wait a second. No. Bernard was injured the year that we went and got bad enough because we got Patrick because he was so injured. And then
Yeah.
So we got him because Bernard was hurt.
Yeah. But so what you're saying is, if Bernard King had came back 100%, then I understand what you're saying. But
Right.
you remember, but in the newspaper we was following Bernard just couldn't get back to. The Knicks wanted him to get back to at least 50%.
Well, also, they wanted to work out with their people. He didn't want. He was working out on his own.
On his
He had a
own.
conflict
Yep.
with. He was
Yep.
working on his own, and they were like, "We
That's
want you to
what.
come to."
That's where the problem was.
Ultimately,
The guy who did the surgery was a Knicks surgeon.
Right. Exactly.
But it was just him and Bernard working out together in secret. And
Right.
Bernard wouldn't tell him anything. Bernard didn't say anything for like a year and a half.
I know.
Before,
And I'll give Bernard
before
some
he
blame.
had-
Bernard got to take some accountability for that. He had some responsibility, but he was trying to do his own thing at his own pace. And he probably feared old school days. They were going to try to bring him back the next day. They were going to bring him back too early. And he was like, I need to take my time, do it meticulously in my way. And he knew his body. But the Knicks were like, nope, we want you back. We're paying your money, man. And that's probably what the conflict was. So they both had responsibility. But the Knicks should have been more empathetic, knowing Bernard he's got his game plan and he's coming back. And he's so good, we got to wait him out.
They didn't believe in him because no one had ever come back from an injury like that in basketball.
That's true, exactly. And when they did come back, they got hurt again.
They didn't believe in him. Yeah. And when he came back for like, I think it was like 5 games at the end of the 86 season or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see he wasn't that guy anymore, but there was still something there.
Right.
When new management and new coach came to town, they were like, "No, we don't want nothing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
We good. Let him go."
Exactly, man. If they just given him one more chance, it would have been wild. I mean, imagine if Steph Curry had a center that was unstoppable shooting wise. That's what I'm thinking about commission, like where you can't stop the outside shot and you can't stop the inside shot. And the inside guy had a mid-range that he couldn't stop either. And the outside shooter had a mid-range that with a movement. Because Bernard talks about his shot. He had like 3 or 4 spots. And he goes, when I go there, I know I'm never going to miss. So I got those spots. And that was how he played. And that would have been, oh, man, that would have been such a game of beauty. Michael, Pistons, everybody would have been struggling going, who are those guys? We got to stop New York. We got to stop New York. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to say, old school, man, we had it where we had it good. We had it good. I mean, again, even without Bernard, we had it so good that we knew that we had potential championships and these contenders from Bernard's years from 84 to 98. And that's
I'm
the
not even gonna,
time.
Wes, I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I ain't even gonna lie to you and to AD. Right? During that time, bro, I didn't even want the Knicks to win, bro. I wanted the Knicks to get the number 1 pick in the draft again.
Yes.
Right? Because at the time I was like, what, 16? I was like 16 years old and watching Pat Ewing. 15, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, something. When Pat got drafted number 1.
Right.
And so I was thinking the only thing better than getting Pat Ewing with the number 1 pick is the next year getting Len Bias with the number 1 pick.
Oh, man.
That's what I wanted.
Oh,
I wanted Patrick Ewing and Len Bias.
Oh,
now I know
they kept doing dumb things. Like at the end of the year, they brought Ewing back and won like 2 or 3 games.
Why?
I know.
And
Exactly.
affected their lottery and affected their status because I think they picked fifth that year behind Indiana.
Yeah.
They won games that they didn't need to win. It was like this is crazy. Like, what are y'all doing?
Exactly.
Are you saying that the Knicks couldn't even tank right? Is what you were saying?
Exactly.
Well, we've seen that before. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not like we haven't seen that before.
I mean, history repeats itself. The history repeats itself.
We haven't seen it before. I mean, here's the thing, if you can't do any better, right? Your prize jewel has a season-ending surgery, right? Or should be season-ending. You force him back.
I know. Yep.
You bring him back, or you let him convince you that he got a couple more, whatever, because Ewing, the first couple of seasons, had knee issues with the Knicks.
Yep.
And that was the perfect time to take advantage of the fact that he's hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
So why play him? It's not like you tanking to tank. Your main guy is hurt.
Yep.
I mean, the problem back in the day. Remember back in the day?
How do you think the Spurs built their dynasty? This is how the Spurs built their dynasty.
Yep.
Well, with the Knicks, though, remember one night of a full MSG with the concessions and the parking and all the stuff that comes with it was probably that initial, that quick fix money. We want to make money quick, and you're like, oh man, the cash is right there, and you grab it instead of letting it invest in it and let it grow. That was the Knicks mentality. Man, the ownership was like, man, 5 games of a full MSG with Patrick back, we could make a few $1 million each night. Instead of thinking, man, if we just let him rest and come back next year and get another star, we could make 5 years of playoff championship ball, finals, get a chip, and that would have been 10 times or 100 times more they could have made in those 5 or 6 games they had to play him. So that's a short-term investment strategy, compared to long-term.
And that's why they didn't get to the finals with him until his 9th season.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Right.
When Ewing got to the finals, when Ewing got to the finals in '94, he was 30 years old, or about to be 31 years old.
Yep.
In fact, he turned 31 after the finals because his birthday is in August.
Yeah, his birthday is in August. Yep. And so what frustrates me in that move, the move from Bernard King, is the subsequent year, that 86 draft. The Knicks didn't get my guy, and it worked out for excuse me, I don't know if it worked out for the best, but y'all understand. Y'all know the Len Bias story. I don't have to get in there.
All right. Yep.
But during this time, bro, if you're not gonna get Len Bias, can you at least get St. John's own Walter Berry?
Walter Berry. Oh man, I know.
Now I know Walter Berry wound up in a bus. I know he wound up being a bus. I understand that, but
with Patrick, he may have been different though. Even the Len, the Len, Bias could have been different if he had the Knicks. If he had the Knicks, who knows where it would have been before once they drafted him. Instead of being celebrating, the Knicks would have flown him straight to New York. Him and Patrick have been hanging out somewhere, and he may not have made that one step, that small little change in history. The butterfly effect. Because you never know,
but
man.
that has to be. You see, but that has to be. Look at it. That has to be your strategy once Ewing gets hurt, right? Because you already know the supposed guys who are coming out, which is Brad Daugherty, Len Bias, Walter Berry, Chuck Persons, Pearl Washington. Here's a
Ron Harper.
Kenny Walker, Ron Harper. Here's a dude. Here's a dude that I wanted them to draft so bad because talent-wise and his physicality, he's exactly what they needed. And they was playing that twin tower stuff back then. I wanted them to draft Roy Tarpley from Iowa. Roy Tarpley. But everybody in that draft, or not everybody, but a good amount of people in that draft, a lot of them had coke issues.
Right.
Roy was one.
Hot Rod Williams.
Hot Rod Williams. Remember, I think he went in the supplemental draft, or it was some weird ruling how he became a free agent and how Cleveland was able to sign him.
Yeah.
But he was in that as well.
He failed the drug test in the pre-draft process.
Yeah.
That's suspended.
That's
what they suspended him for that, and I think there was some point shaving stuff too. Remember the point shaving stuff? So
I would have been totally wrong on Tarpley because I remember I was like, yo, Kenny Walker can't deal with the way the game was being played, its physicality. I'm like, this dude is 6'10", 6'11", and if it wasn't for the fact that he had those issues, Dallas might have went to a finals.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Definitely. Oh man.
And so for those that don't understand who Roy Tarpley was, think Lamar Odom with more physicality.
Yeah.
Right? Roy Tarpley did stuff that big men couldn't do. Roy Tarpley could grab a rebound and walk it up the court against pressure.
Yeah. He was like an early KG.
Yeah, like he could do some of the stuff. Like do you think Derek McKee, a little bit of Charles Smith, like the bigs that were big, that had the big man size, that could kind of do a little bit of everything.
He could really play, but even what's the name came out in that league? Sam was it Washburn? Chris Washburn.
Yeah, Washburn.
Washburn came out in that. Washburn was in that draft. Another one with substance abuse problems.
Mm-hmm.
William Bedford from Memphis.
Mm. Yeah,
he was early in that draft. They had another.
Where's Chris Mullins, man? Where's Chris Mullins at? What draft was that? Do you remember, Freezy?
Mullen is the Patrick Ewing draft. Mullen is the year before.
Oh, the year before? Okay, yeah. Patrick's draft. Okay, man.
But the 86 draft was laced with guys that had substance abuse issues.
Oh, man.
Up and down the draft, guys that was laced with substance abuse issues. Daugherty might have been the only one Doherty might have been the only one. Doherty and Kenny Walker might have been the only one with guys that was like clean.
Clean, right? Yo, Freezy, you remember Len Bias's game though, right? Who would you compare Len Bias to? Because people don't understand how great he was.
Nobody.
I can't.
Nobody that has ever played this game
Oh my
had the Len Bias game, bro. I used to think it was LeBron, but Len Bias had a shooting stroke.
Yes,
like Len Bias could shoot.
Yep.
Now I'm not saying that he was Larry Bird, right?
No.
But what I'm saying is if you put Mark Aguirre in LeBron James's body, then now you're talking about two dudes that were the number one pick. Because I think Mark Aguirre was the number one pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And LeBron James was the number. So if you take two historically great number one pick Hall of Fame type guys and put them in one body,
wow. Yep.
Len Bias. Yeah, and like I tell the story all the time that Olden Polynice blocked Brooklyn's own Olden Polynice blocked Len Bias to win a game, and Olden Polynice played for Virginia. Olden Polynice was the dude that started at center after Ralph Sampson left Virginia,
right.
And so Olden Polynice blocked Len Bias, and Virginia won the game and ran off the floor, right? And they talked trash to Len Bias. And the guy from Maryland said Len Bias went to his locker and cried. And he circled the game for Virginia. Right? He circled the game. And Len Bias came out. That nigga, I can't remember what exact point total because when the old heads tell you the story, because like a dude told me the story, I was like, Len Bias ain't scored no 45 points against the top 3 team in the country. He was like, yo, not only did he score 45, he had 10 at halftime. He had 10 at halftime and finished the game with 45 points in college.
Yep, in college. And that's nothing, man. Once you went to college,
it's crazy.
He was special.
When you mentioned Sampson in college, it's nothing about the old school. Most of those guys played 4 years, right? Lots of those guys played 4 years, and they had a rivalry going in from college to the pros. I mean, obviously, Magic and Bird were special, and even Michael. But Patrick and Sampson's battles, they were vicious. Georgetown, Virginia, the stadiums, they were vicious.
But it wasn't just
Sampson,
it wasn't.
Sampson ate him up that first time they played.
Yeah, man.
That first time they played, Sampson ate him up.
And think about this. They playing in the same region of the country.
Exactly.
Right? They were not in the same conference, right? But they played in the DMV. Pat was at Georgetown.
Yeah.
Right? Ralph Sampson at Virginia.
Yeah.
Sam Perkins, Brad Daugherty at North Carolina.
Oh man.
Who else had a big man? I think somebody else had a big. Who had a big in '84? Elijah Wan. Was that
Elijah? No, but Elijah Wan is in Houston.
Younger, but
He's in Houston.
Right.
Yeah, he's in Houston. Oh man. By Slammer Jammer. And they played each other from college. The rivalry was there. So when the pros happened, even draft position was a crazy thing to them. It was like blood to go. I got drafted higher than you. Was even the draft itself was fire. Was like, oh man, who's gonna go ahead of Patrick or Ralph? Who's gonna go third? And everything was like a little chip on your shoulder. The lower you go, you're like, oh, you're gonna take him ahead of me. So each guy came in going, I'm coming to hurt you in the pros, and you see what we did in college. So that was what also made old school so much more, because they already built up the foundation for the rivalry, and then when it came to the pros, it just exploded with the freedom of playing pro ball.
Was Mike Jaminski in the NBA then?
Yeah.
Yep, a lot of parts.
He was on the Nets.
Yep.
He was on the Nets.
I think Jaminski was, if memory serves me correctly, I think Jaminski was the number 2 overall pick behind Sampson, I think.
Okay.
Oh
yeah,
man.
it was one of those years. Yeah, Jaminski could play. Jaminski could play.
Yeah.
Jaminski could play. Jaminski just wasn't rough.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And
See,
because Georgetown was
Jaminski
cold,
could play.
and Thompson coaching them, he was hardcore. I'm sure practices were hard at Georgetown. Every day it was like battles. Cause man, that coach was scary. I was afraid of him, and I was even a Georgetown player. I was afraid of him because Thompson looked like he was gonna hurt somebody when you messed up. Man, I mean, who remember Indiana the chair throwing incident and the smacking the players?
Yeah.
Oh
That
man, those coaches were hardcore, man. Now these days I can't even say a word to the kids. They're like, I'm sorry, man. You're gonna be one and done. Bye. Thanks for coming. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Hey,
you
I'll be
coming.
right back. I'm gonna use this restroom.
All right, man. But also, I want to know how many of you guys actually got to play against some of these guys, because Rucker, KD went to Rucker and stuff. They popped in there a couple of times, but in the old days, West 4th Street, Rucker, I could name like 4 different locations in New York where you never know when, but someday a Nick or someone from outside came up and just ran a game with you, man. And that's what old schoolers did, man. They would run games with us. I got this kids. I'm in LA. So here's LA, by the way. Here's LA. What they're doing? They got like a little train running around the parking lot.
Okay.
Right, that's parts of New York. so,
Uh-huh.
so, but yeah, so we had ballers who showed up. I played against Strickland. I had Mason show up a couple times, and I'm like, these guys didn't care about being injured, man. I didn't care, but they wanted to stay in the connection with the people, and that's how they get some of their runs. Or show up at a Rucker or a West 4th Street or in Brooklyn. Man, they place that they'll show up and just run a couple games, and then turn out, and then people will fun
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Well, just to go back to the original topic, I mean, it's we have a different time, different perspective as far as how we see basketball and so forth. And it's no shot at the new schoolers, because it's their time to see basketball, how they see it and experience it. But some things are just, you know, hammers. You use a hammer to knock in the nail. You know what I mean? Like some things are just it is what it is what it is. You know what I mean? When it comes to some things, so I don't think that they'd be able to come with a 5, better than the old schoolers. You
No.
know, I mean, you'll have a good game. Don't get me wrong, you'll have a good game, but I don't think that's going to be better than the old school 5.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, no. I in some ways the new schoolers got it better because they get to watch highlights of these guys everywhere they play. Whether you go and pick up a pro-am game here, or whatever league you're playing, some summer league, they're getting videos and they're watching them all the time. Where we were lucky to just catch them at the playground once in a while. I
Right.
don't know if you ever even get inside of like practice. You know, I mean,
Right.
not everyone practice though. Like Iverson practice, but
I, I
which
wanna,
I'll never forget.
I
I
wanna,
love that because he was like,
I want,
he's talking
I
about
wanna give
practice.
I wanna hold on just 1 second. I want to give a mention to, because the last time we were on Freezy, this didn't happen yet. Rest in peace to the legendary Bill Russell.
Real, yes.
Right.
And I was also watching some of his documentary this morning, and what the greatest winner in American sports or
Right.
team sports,
Yeah.
Right.
his contribution and so forth. Another old schooler,
Right.
real old school, legendary.
And you know what? Those guys got paid back then. On top of the fact they had to put up with so much, they didn't get paid like these guys who, like Kyrie, you don't have to worry about salaries. Like, okay, I'll take some. I'm gonna take 40 games off because I'm gonna still rock with $20 million. Or Ben. Ben is like, okay, I'm not gonna undermine the fact that they or dismiss their challenges, but man, these guys were not gonna take a game off. Man, we're gonna miss a game without pay. I mean, that's why sometimes
Well,
when
they
they
needed
still
they needed to get paid, because when you hear their salaries, he said that he got, one of his top salaries was like $100,000.
exactly, and
A
that's
hundred
probably
thousand
player coach
dollars
time too.
$100,000 is a game check
Exactly.
for some of
Yep.
these dudes. Think about
Exactly.
that.
I
We're talking
know.
about not even 50 years ago, right? Not even 50 years ago, their best player is making $100,000. And that's not even a game. That's not even a game check for some of these dudes.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, because then that's why playoffs also mattered so much because every playoff game was an extra salary, it was extra pay. It was
Yep.
like instead of doing a summer job somewhere at a car dealership selling cars, you actually could actually stay in the playoffs and make money. So every game was like, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna extend it one more game. Even one more game was enough for them. They didn't. If they couldn't win the series, they got to go 6. You don't want to get swept. You want to go at least 5 or 6 games to get a next paycheck, just because you get another game check because you're in the playoffs. Incentives were, man. If there's some of these guys' incentives are season checks for the old school guys, where you're like, oh, if you average 20 points a game this year, we give you an extra 2 mil. Where those cats in the old days were like, man, I gotta work the whole year for 100, 200 grand, 300 grand. Man, but yeah, I mean, like I said, the new schoolers, I mean, I love what they got, the access and the visibility of seeing these guys. But it's nothing like actually standing next to one of these ballers. I told you, man, my Rod Strickland experience at West 4th Street. Rod Strickland walking that court, and and he's not even that big. I'm 6'4", by the way, right? And Rod's lean, but man, he just bounced, man. He just flowed, and his
Right.
handle was freaky and moves. I talk about the lean. He leaned a little bit to the right, and your ankle's broken. He didn't even cross over. He just leaned, and you're like,
Right.
why am I going that way? And he just pops go through it, and his rebounds when he gets a rebound is above the rim rebound. I'm like, you didn't need to even jump for the ball, but for him it was just like reaching his hand up. His jump
Right.
was like reaching his hand up, and it blows your mind how amazingly gifted these guys were. And people are looking at Strickland sometimes in the league and going, okay, he may make the All-Star team, but maybe not. When you walk in at West Fortune, you're like, is he human? Can he fly? Oh
Right.
man, it was beautiful, man. So I mean, I'm telling you, man, we had it great in the old school, man. It was some beautiful days, and I want to see it again. That's why the old school that some of us are so much into. Let's bring Donovan because we want to feel that feeling again. We want to be on the subway where you wear the Knicks gear, and every
Right.
Knicks you walk by. Because these days, actually, even here in LA, I see a jersey or a hat, and I said, "Oh, from New York." And I go, "Yeah." But back in the day, everybody, everywhere you walk down the street, it was like, "What up, man? We won last night. Saw the game," and it was just like a party lasted for days after a big win. Or Bernard's 50-50-50 games. We just never stopped talking about it. It was like, oh,
But you mentioned Donovan Freezy.
Yes.
Before I forget to even get my pound of flesh, you, did you hear about that so-called trade, 3-team trade with the Lakers?
Yes.
Give me your thoughts, sir.
I don't know, bro. I don't know because, and the reason why I say I don't know, is because of the things that were mentioned right before you asked me that question. Like I heard Rod Strickland. I'm not really a huge. I'm not saying I dislike Rod Strickland. First of all, but I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled about the fanaticism around Rod Strickland. I just think I honestly thought he was a good NBA guard. I don't think he was great. Right. I just and secondly, the 3-team trade with the Jazz and Lakers and the Knicks. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know. I say just get something done.
yes.
Just get something done, man. That's all.
We're at that stage.
Yeah, just get something. Yeah, just get something done, man. Let me ask you this: is Rod Strickland a top 20 point guard in your opinion? All time?
Of all time?
Of all time.
No.
20. I'd have to really think about it.
Right. What about top 30? Is he a top 30 point guard of all time?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think with Rod though, here's the parts again that I think we touched on this a little bit earlier. You're on a team that is no longer used to winning. Because remember, Rod played it with Webber in Webber's early years. So you had Rod and Webber. You had a power forward and a point guard, and you somehow can't get past a 8th round entrance. Does that look bad on Rod or the organization or both?
Good point.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He can say, a lot of players can't say that they played with a Hall of Famer.
Right.
With another Hall of Famer in the prime of the careers, and what did the two of them produce? They played together, I believe, longer than KG played with Marbury. Or maybe right around the same thing. I think they played together at least 3 seasons, I believe. And I think KG and Marbury played like 3 seasons together.
Right. Let me ask you this. Would you prefer Ron Strickland or Kenny Anderson?
Kenny.
That's what I mean, man. And so when I go down this list of would I prefer Ron Strickland or, it seems like I always take the or, and I want to take Strickland.
But there's no, I mean, if the or is just better, like, who you taking? Rod Strickland, Gary Payton.
You got to take Gary Payton. And so I'm trying to think about dudes that are in his range, like that top 30 point guard range. Like, do I take Rod Strickland or Norm Nixon? I still got to take Norm Nixon.
Yeah. Wow. Good. Okay. That's
I'm
crazy.
probably taking Rod right there. I think I'm taking Rod right there because when Rod comes on the scene, the position is changing. The position is changing, and Rod has like all of that athletic ability that's gonna supersede Norm. I think he can't shoot like Norm. You know, he can't shoot the outside shot like Norm, but he could get to the basket like no other.
Here's two for you: Rod Strickland or Lafayette Lever. Fat Lever.
I'm gonna take Fat Lever
Because you value defense and triple doubles.
Yeah,
right.
Fat Lever would give you. Fat Lever was the original, guard that all of a sudden you had to pay attention because he was just filling up the stat sheets on all ends.
Yeah. Here's another one: Rod Strickland or Calvin Murphy.
Wow.
I'm gonna take Rod.
Yeah, but you see what I'm getting at, right? Like
Yes.
I can throw names in a conversation like Rod Strickland or Kevin Johnson.
I'm gonna take Kevin Johnson. That's close.
Right.
That's close.
Rod Strickland. Rod Strickland or Mark Price.
I'm gonna take Rod.
You see what I mean? But that's why I say I love Rod Strickland, right? But I can't say take Rod Strickland over Dennis Johnson, right? Like there were so many point guards that you could play the Rod Strickland or game, and when you do that, it's a lot of times you got to think about like Rod, like Rod Strickland or JoJo White. The original, see, JoJo White is the original Rod Strickland. You know what I'm saying? The original. Like Bob Cousy and them, Clyde Frazier and them used to bounce. with the ball and protect it. And JoJo White used to stand in front of you, go on between his legs like, I dare you to reach. I dare you to reach.
If Rod had some more playoff success, I think we would view him a bit different. You know, because Rod early on, and maybe some of this is true or not, Rod early on was a little hard to deal with. You know, because even in the Point Guards documentary, they talk about, you know, he tried to fight Mark Jackson in practice.
Yes. But the secret is Rod Strickland tried to fight everybody everywhere.
Yeah, I remember him having trouble at DePaul.
Yeah, and he would be fighting. And the reason why the Knicks traded him is not because Mark Jackson was a better player. It's because Rod Strickland got into much trouble off the court.
Rod was immature.
Yes.
Rod at that time was immature. Yeah, he was immature, and you couldn't play him and Mark together.
Right. And so and then ultimately people think that it boiled down to Mark Jackson was better. No. The Knicks used to bench Mark Jackson, and we spoke to this already. Right? The Knicks bench Mark Jackson a couple times.
But here's the thing though. And this is the same quagmire that this organization is in with Randall and Obi, right? Because you have 2 point guards, same city, know each other, same everything, you know, young, dynamic, everything, and you drafted after having the guy that won Rookie of the Year, you draft another point guard, and then you don't have a plan on what to do once the NBA sees that, yo, he nice, Rod could play. You don't take advantage of trading Rod at a point where you could have really added something different to the team that the team needed.
Yeah.
You sit there with it till it's like, all right, San Antonio called you and was like, all right, I'll take Rod off your hands.
Right.
Take this Mo Cheeks.
And then as soon as you get to San Antonio, we find out, I think the story goes, and I'm not for sure if it's accurate, but the thing is, as soon as he gets to San Antonio, it's the same thing in San Antonio than it is in New York behind the scenes.
Because he had a bad time with, but a lot of point guards have a bad time with Larry Brown. So I'm not gonna say his troubles was totally, you know, on his own, because Larry Brown is tough on point guards. But when he went to Portland, I think PJ Carmelo was the coach then. You know, Rod always it was always something. You know what I'm saying? I don't know whose fault it is or not, but Rod always. Remember here with the Knicks, Patino said, you know, they were tired of the Joe Cool act.
Right.
I remember that verbatim. The Joe Cool act.
Yeah.
You know, so Rod is one of those that, but on any night he'd give you the business.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, here's I'm gonna do one more, and then I got to get out of here. Who would you prefer, Ron Strickland or Mike Conley Jr.?
Rod Strickland or Conley Jr.
Or Mike Conley Jr. Right. Off top, the easy thing was, man, you got to go with Rod Strickland because he's flashy.
I think,
but then when you look at Conley numbers, bro.
I think I would go with Conley. You see, the thing with Conley is that he's had so many injuries.
Right.
Injuries has kind of robbed him of how good I think he could have been.
Right. But you know what he does have over Strickland? Playoff successes.
Yeah.
Deep playoff runs. consistently over the course of years, going against all-time greats at his position. Because the Rod Strickland thing is, yeah, you know, they were all-time greats, but they were, you know, Tim Hardaway, Kevin Johnson, Gary Payton. But then look at when you say Mike Conley versus all-time greats, you're talking about your Steph Currys, your Damian Lillards. You know what I'm saying? Your cats like. So it's like, see now y'all see what I'm getting at? Like I wanna exalt Rod Strickland, but then when I look at his career, I
mean, I could take him over Conley. The reason why I go Conley because I prefer a pass first point guard.
And a defender. Conley in his day was a defender.
And a defender. But for me, like how I view my team and stuff, my point guard doesn't have to be the top firepower on my team.
Right.
He can be, but he doesn't have to be.
Y'all, I got to get out of here so I can do some prep for some other stuff later on today. Man, I appreciate it, y'all. We gotta next week. Hey, New School Knicks. I know y'all watching New School Knicks.
Yes.
Next week I am gonna have my all-time starting five ready for y'all, and y'all better be ready to debate. Because that mess that y'all said about y'all New School Knicks fans having a better starting five than the old school Knicks.
Oh yes.
Y'all got me fired up.
Yeah.
Yep. AD, I'm gonna read this super chat real quick. Paris Duggar says no great players used to be persecuted for lack of D. Nah, that's not what I'm saying. What we're getting at is we think all these guys are great, but when it comes down to a preference, then we choose defense. But defense ain't the main thing. So anyway, we're gonna get out of here. Thank y'all for watching Old School Knicks. AD is so smooth; he doesn't require a chaser. Wisdom, we appreciate you. Wisdom came through real quick. Another old head Knicks fan.
Absolutely,
we appreciate y'all, man. And we out of here. Peace, y'all.